Behold, it is revealed by Iwas, the minister of Hippocrates. Now, in this beautifully designed card by Frida Harris, we see a stylized version of the stele of revealing. We see Nuit there, the big sort of blue omega there. And we see Hadit right there is the winged globe. And we see Rahur Kuwait. Now there's the seated active Horus, Rahur. And then superimposed on the outside is this standing child with a Horus lock or hair coming along the side with its finger in its mouth. That is Hippocrates or Harpocrates. Horus is twins. The active, vengeful, wild and crazy, warlike Horus, and then there's the god of silence. Okay, why am I showing you this? Because Hippocrates is also identified with the Fool card. We're going to talk about silence today. And excuse the way I'm dressed. We just returned from shopping. We're on the threshold of what is predicted to be 4 straight days of severe weather. So we went out and did our shopping this morning, and we've tied things down as much as they're going to get tied down. There's not much we can do about the flooding, but we're in for some exciting weather. Anyway, so excuse the way I'm dressed. Just got out of the car. It's 4 a.m. I creep quietly past the rooms of my sleeping brothers and out into the darkened hallway that leads to the staircase to the atrium. Excuse me just for a second. I'm going to recheck that I've got my sound level up. Aha! I hope that is better. Take 2. I hope you can hear this better. I got method to my madness, believe it or not here. It's 4 a.m. I creep quietly past the rooms of my sleeping brothers and out to the darkened hallway that leads to the staircase to the atrium. The atrium is a cavernous space nearly 200 feet long and over 50 feet wide, built in the style of the Roman Empire. The marble floor is adorned with Masonic symbols inlaid in brass and stone of contrasting colors. The Doric and Ionic columns that flank the great hall and support a second-story walkway and chambers are dwarfed by towering Corinthian columns that buttress the vaulted ceiling. 3 stories high, whose centerpiece, stained glass skylight, now bathes the room in soft iridescent moonlight. There are 5 statues here whose bronze presences I move to honor. 4 are the goddess figures of the cardinal virtues: temperance, prudence, fortitude, and justice. They are positioned at the corners of the room, which I slowly circumambulate as I move from pedestal to pedestal. The fifth goddess stands in the very center of the hall and bears no inscription or emblem. She simply holds her forefinger to her lips, as if to hush the universe. It is here at the feet of silence I sit down on the cool floor and close my eyes. Only a moment, it seems, passes before I hear the warm ring of a temple bell. The others are awake, and we are being called to dawn meditation. That is from my foreword to Mark Stavish's Freemasonry Ritual Symbols and History of the Secret Society that I've also included in my collection of introductions and allow me to introduce. I also have that there because Baphomet, believe it or not, the symbol, character, and significance of Baphomet is also associated with Hippocrates. Okay, we're on part 14 of Little Essays Toward Truth. We're almost through. There's only 2 more. We'll be through with the entire book by the weekend, and I hope you've enjoyed it, or at least found it interesting, because Little Essays Toward Truth is a masterpiece. Anyway, we're on the chapter called Silence. Of all the magical and mystical virtues, of all the graces of the soul, of all the attainments of the spirit, none has been so misunderstood, even when at all apprehended, as silence. It not be possible to enumerate the common errors. Nay, it may be said that to think of it at all is, in itself, an error. For its nature is pure being, that is to say, nothing. So that it is beyond all intellection or intuition. Thus, then, the utmost of our essay can only be a certain wardenship, as it were, a tiling of the lodge wherein the mystery of silence may be consummated. For this attitude there is sound traditional authority. For Hippocrates is the god of silence. Hippocrates is called the Lord of Defense and of Protection. His nature is by no means that negative and passive silence which the word commonly connotes. For he is the all-wandering spirit, the pure and perfect knight-errant, who answers all enigmas and opens the closed portal of the king's daughter. But silence, in the vulgar sense, is not the answer to the riddle of the Sphinx. It is that which is created by that answer. For silence is the equilibrium of perfection. So that Hippocrates is the omniform, the universal key to every mystery soever. The Sphinx is the puzzle or puzzle, the feminine idea to which there is only one complement, always different in form and always identical in essence. This is the signification of the gesture of the god. It is shown more clearly in his adult form as the Fool of the Tarot, as Bacchus, Diffus, and without equivocation when he appears, Baphomet. When we inquire more closely into his symbolism, the first quality which engages our attention is doubtless his innocence. Not without deep wisdom is he called twin of Horus, and this is the Aeon of Horus, and it is he who sent forth Iwas, his minister, to proclaim its event. Behold, it is revealed by Iwas, the minister of Hur-Par-Krad. The cobs is in the Kuna. The fourth power of the Sphinx is silence. To us, then, who aspire to this power as the crown of our work, it'll be of the utmost value to attain his innocence in all its fullness. We must understand, first of all, that the root of moral responsibility on which man stupidly prides himself as distinguishing him from the other animals is restriction. Simplify that statement. We must understand, first of all, that the root of moral responsibility is restriction, which is the word of sin. Indeed, there is truth in the Hebrew fable that the knowledge of good and evil brings forth death. To regain innocence is to regain Eden. We must learn to live without the murderous consciousness that every breath we draw swells the sails which bear our frail vessels to the port of the grave. We must cast out fear by love, seeing that every act is an orgasm. Their total issue cannot be but birth. Also, love is the law. Thus, every act must be righteousness and truth. But by certain meditations, this may be understood and established. And this ought to be done so thoroughly that we become unconscious of our sanctification. For only then is innocence made perfect. This state is, in fact, a necessary condition of any proper contemplation of what we are accustomed to consider the first task of the aspirant, the solution of the question, what is my true will? For until we become innocent, we are certain to try to judge our will by some canon of what seems right or wrong. In other words, we are apt to criticize our will from the outside, whereas true will should spring a fountain of life from within and flow unchecked, seething with love into the ocean of life. This is the true idea of silence. It is our will which issues, perfectly elastic, sublimely protean, to fill every interstice of the universe of manifestation, which it meets in its course. There is no gulf too great for its immeasurable strength, no strait too arduous for its imperturbable imperturbable subtlety. It fits itself with perfect precision to every need. Its fluidity is the warrant of its fidelity. Its form is always varied by that of the particular imperfection which it encounters. Its essence is identical in every event, and always the effect of its action is perfection, that is, silence. And this perfection is ever the same, being perfect, yet ever different, because each case presents its own peculiar quantity and quality. It is impossible for inspiration itself to sound a dithyramb of silence, for each new aspect of Hippocrates is worthy of the music of the universe throughout eternity. I have simply been led by my loyal love of that strange race among whom I find myself incarnate to indite this poor stanza of the infinite epic of Hippocrates as being the facet of his fecund brilliance which has refracted the most needful light upon mine own darkling entrance to his shrine of fulminating of ineffable Godhead. I praise the luxuriant rapture of innocence, the virile pantomorphic ecstasy of all fulfillment. I praise the crowned and conquering child, whose name is force and fire, whose subtlety and strength make sure serenity, whose energy and endurance accomplish the attainment of the Virgin of the Absolute, who, being manifested, is the player upon the sevenfold pipe, the great god Pan, and being withdrawn into the perfection that he willed, is silence. And that is where we're going to stop today. Tomorrow's. And let's hope we'll be able to do one tomorrow, because it's called love. So until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other, and do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.